maybe even our like classical time, our real time that we're going to be doing this. At least that's kind of our tentative plan now. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be, as my friend Coop puts it, talking about the flutist, so to speak. So um, I think most of our previous episodes have been about like comparing songs, and this is one that is not going to be that. I don't think we're going to have a conversation about like I don't know. I mean, again, there's two ways we can get at it, right? We can get at the cultural impact and the cultural like the opinions and how what he means to culture and that kind of thing, and we can talk about like the actual music that's on the page, so to speak, too.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, thank y'all for supporting us. Click like and subscribe to our page. Um, Secondly, the beautiful thing I feel about what we're doing is that we really don't have any boundaries with this show. I think we chose to do the pairing as a lead-in, but I think both of us are well versed in music and in life enough that we can kind of take this a multitude of ways,
Yeah.
and one of our first opportunities to do so. So I don't want everybody to think that it should always be a hip hop versus pop culture type of pairing. We
Right.
can quote my show that's about to come out, do all the things.
Yep.
And yeah, like it's funny. It's the holiday, so the Temptations came on TV, and I was like, nah, I'm like, we got to cover some of these Temptation songs. They're just too.
Yeah.
They're too iconic to not cover, like
Yeah.
just in pop culture in general, because they're probably the first black group to transcend the lines. Not to go off on too far of a tangent,
Right.
but yeah. So I was
That
actually
whole
listening.
Motown run, like the Temptations and Supremes and Jackson, like all of them, that was like the first wave that really
Yes,
crossed over.
yes, agreed. Um, I was actually listening to the Andre album all this morning. Like when I got up, I
Yeah.
actually started. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, the first thing I want to say, it's not a bad project, Andrew.
It's not. It's not.
Um, but I have to be honest with our audience. I have to be honest with myself.
Hmm.
Um, it's just not the type of music that you play in your traditional music settings. Like you're not going to work out to it.
No.
You're not going to play it in your car. You're really not going to play it in your headphones.
Right.
I found myself this morning when I played it. I was thinking to myself, it's like, well, this is the type of music that when I was in college, I would have in the background when I was studying.
Yeah.
This is also the type of music that when I read my Bible, I will have playing in the background.
Okay.
So it does have like a place and a space. I can see myself meditating to it. I really
Yeah.
don't meditate. I really don't meditate because, like, for me, like just real quick, it's like, what's the difference between meditation and prayer?
Um, are you asking, or you? I mean, it's one to me anyway. And this in the folks in the chat may be able to correct me on this, but generally speaking, prayer is talking, right? Like it is communication, right? Meditation is practicing pulling your mind back from all the tangents that it's going on. So it's like I know your mind goes on lots of tangents because mine does as well, and it's just practicing noticing like it's going off somewhere and then pulling it back to your breath or whatever you want to, whatever you want to say. So they're similar-ish, but one is about focus and one's about conversation. I think, at least that's how. Anyway,
I mean, just for me, the difference is that one is pretty much
right,
you're importing God into all of that. Is is my take on it, and so this is kind of that genre of music, and I don't really know what we would call that because it's not like classical. I don't want to totally disrespect it and call it ambient because it is
right,
some true live
yeah.
instrumentation going on,
The stuff
but it's
I've
really
seen
hard to
about it is
qualify.
free
But
jazz, I believe, is what I've heard it being called, or experimental. I mean, this I don't know that it's that particularly, but like that's that kind of thing, right? Yeah,
I think where my lies is not with the quality, it's with the message being delivered around the music by him. And it's, and I'm going to say this carefully, there's some real arrogance to what he's doing that just doesn't sit well with me. And nobody's really talking about that aspect because he has this reputation, has this drifter
Hmm.
and humble guy. And as somebody that's met him in person, it's like, no, he's very affable,
Yeah.
but you don't you don't get the type of notoriety that he's achieved without having an ego, Andrew. I'm sorry.
Right.
And the fact that people always kind of like forget that this guy has an ego, and like he speaks, like when he is speaking and doing these interviews, it's like, well, that would be okay if Prince was saying this, or if Michael Jackson was saying this,
Okay.
or if
Okay. That's true. It's a true statement, right?
it's like, well, you have. It's a very true statement, and it would, and Prince was arrogant, and it would come off as arrogant, and we would all
Because he
eat
is
the
that
food
good,
because we
right?
know he's a genius. Yeah, he is that good. My problem is that what has he done sans the outcast material that really deserves this type of like low key arrogance that he's delivering with his message? Because you as a solo artist, like all of your genius, with the exception, like I would say about half of the Love Below is brilliant
Okay.
to me. Like the song, in terms of the song. So it's like you have a very brief brilliance as a solo artist. It's brief, like very minute, and all the rest of your brilliance is attached to somebody who, quite frankly, doesn't get the credit for the brilliance like you do.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just it doesn't feel right. It's not about the music officially. No, it's about him thinking that he's better than the rest,
Mhm.
and he thinks that he gets to get away with this, and people are letting him get away with it. And it's like, as much
And
as,
they're celebrating him for it too, not just letting him get away with it.
yeah, and and it's kind of funny. Like a lot of the according to hip hop audience has been making all these flute jokes,
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks, CT.
and
I
and
appreciate
to be honest with you, like on a personal level, as somebody who loves Outkast, loves Atlanta, loves that the South has been the predominant figure in hip hop for the last 20 years,
it. Yeah.
I'm okay with them doing that because he hasn't earned the right to go off and do this, quite frankly. Like, this is one of those things. It's like, so when I worked at the airport, the first thing I saw was the opportunity there. And I went to the boss and I was like, hey, what do I need to do to move up? Like, I literally asked that when I got out of training. I've always been ambitious like that.
Right. Sure. I know. I've known you a
Right,
very long.
right. My boss looked back at me and she said, master what you already do well first,
Hmm.
and then worry about what the next step is. He has not mastered hip hop on any sort of level. For
I
him,
probably argues that he has. I don't know that I'm not arguing with you and him. I'm just saying that I am guessing that he would say that he has.
so this is what I mean. He hasn't. Doggy Style just celebrated its 30th anniversary. Snoop's first album.
Right.
That is a master class of a solo album.
Yeah.
If Snoop never wanted to rap again after Doggy Style and jump into all the ventures that he jumped into, total right to do that. It's easily, like for me, it's one of the 5 best rap albums of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's easily one of the 10 best rap albums of all time.
Right.
It's the most recognizable rap album of all time.
It is.
And quite almost every song on there is iconic and legendary.
It is.
Andre 3000 has never made a solo album, and he has never, outside of Big Boy being right by his side, shown a full mastery of this as a solo artist.
Right.
And so for me, it kind of feels like, well, just say you don't like to rap anymore. but stop making it seem like that you're some sort of master. You're not.
Hmm.
And also too, and you can understand this because we're in our 40s. It's not about what your potential is. It's about what your output is at a certain age.
Yeah.
Like the potential phase of our life is gone, Andrew. It is about what we do as men.
Yeah.
And so when people speak about him, they're speaking about his potential.
Yeah.
The potential, not the reality.
Right. What he's
So,
sure.
so if he wants to talk about how inauthentic it feels at 48 to rap, it's like I can respect that, but quite frankly, we're not talking about your potential anymore. You're 48 years old. We need to be addressing what your output looks like because that's the same standard we are all held to in this world.
Yep.
So he is getting a pass on so many levels. And then just personally, I'll tell you what, like tomorrow, the Atlanta Falcons are having a hip hop 50 event.
Okay.
Got to talk to the PR person to see if it's okay for me to go. And I'm probably going to go.
Awesome.
I
Good.
know without,
Good.
I know without looking at the lineup, the big boy's going to be there and he's not going to be there. And it's not right.
Right.
And this is what
Yeah.
having a mastery of it. It's like, nah, before you go off, doing instrumentation albums, how about you celebrate the 50th anniversary of hip hop in Atlanta? That masterfully before you talk about what feels inauthentic. You not showing up to something like that in this city when hip hop's 50th year, when I know without looking Big Boy is going to be there because he always stands up and shows up. It's like, nah, the only thing inauthentic right now is the shit that you're kicking, really.
Yeah. And only one of them has a new album to promote too. I mean, like even like independent of all of the history, which is obviously very important. It's one of them has an album to promote too that could. I mean, he's not gonna be playing flute on the 50-yard line at the Falcon Stadium, but his presence would also amplify that idea, right? Like that. Um, it would give him another outlet. And I mean, he said in his GQ interview, and I think in the NPR one too, that he doesn't really want to do promos. He didn't even really do those interviews. But like, I don't know. I mean,
Listen, okay, listen, Andrew, not to cut you off, that's the arrogant part of
I
it.
was going to
How
say,
are you how are you going to do an interview with GQ magazine and with NPR, like, which literally means millions of people are going to read and watch it
right?
instantly? Like, GQ has probably the biggest just adult
Yep.
contemporary male following in
Yep.
this entire nation.
Yep.
My joke when I was in my 20s was that I was going to be on the cover of GQ magazine by the time I was 35 and that was just that was my gravitas like way of saying it's like I'll know I've made it if I've
Right.
done something like that because of how much mass appeal they have.
Exactly.
Their mass appeal is not dwindled into our 30s and our 40s.
No,
And so when he
they're iconic.
does things, they're iconic. So when he does things like this strategically and business wise, and then tries to play the woe is me, I don't want any, it's like bullshit, dude, bullshit. Like step up to the plate and own it. Like one thing, like I have criticized 50 Cent a lot, like on our show about
Hmm.
some of the things that he says, but at least he's honest. Like at least if he says something that's crass and incoherent and arrogant, he owns that shit, and I respect him for it. You know
Okay.
what I mean? I may not always like what he says, but I respect it. Like as a man, I'm like, nah, he's speaking his truth, and he's not backing down.
Right.
Like this stuff that Andre does, it's like this is what I mean about no. If you're 48, it's like be 48 all the way. Like talk respectable about it as a man. Like tell the truth. Be like, hey, I'm really not the type of person that likes to promote, but I understand how this business goes, so I'm going to promote this album. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with saying that.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how it works, right?
It's how this game works. It's the games we play. You know, you and me before we do the show, I've been watching you post to promote it. I've been posting to promote it because that's what you do when you're putting a viable product out.
Yep.
Period. It's literally the way economics and the market the consumer market cycle works in this nation. And you're a part of that cycle whether you like it or not because you chose to put out a product in this market.
Yep.
And it
Exactly.
seems like it's just too much to ask this guy to own it. And this is where it's like, oh no, it's beautiful music, but the music gets lost in his bullshit,
Yeah,
quite
and
frankly.
that's why that's the opening comment that I made, right? Like it's hard to separate out all of this, all of the cultural stuff that goes around it, and what people wished for and hoped for, and he's seems like intentionally not giving, and the actual music that's on the actual album on the actual page, right? That you're actually listening to. There's two completely different things. What I do know though is that you were talking one of the interviews I was watching you on. Maybe it was according to him, maybe it was fresh out. But where you're talking about him saying that he didn't feel inspired, right? And he says that in the NPR interview, he didn't feel inspired by, and how that was not relevant, especially given what Nas has done at basically the same age, right? He's a little bit older, but like basically the same. Um, 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 what I do know as a writing teacher and as a writer is that inspiration comes from doing the work. It's not the other way around, right? You have to do the work. That's like writing 101. That's Anne Lamott, Bird by Bird. That's Stephen King's On Writing. That's all the foundational texts of how to become great at something. Is you have to sit your ass down or go in the booth or whatever it is, whatever your medium is. You have to do the thing, and then you have to do the thing, and it has to suck for a long time, and it'll suck most of the time probably, but occasionally you get these moments, right? But you have to be in the booth or on the page or sitting at the computer or doing whatever. You have to be doing the thing for the inspiration to come. It doesn't happen the other way around.
Yeah. So not, to, and I'm not joking when I say this, not to toot my own horn, but one of the proudest moments of my life was when I interviewed Hit Boy, and he's like, "Yeah, we be having y'all like up in the studio, like you helped inspire some of this." Like he didn't say it like that, but he's pretty much saying it's like, "Oh no, I helped craft some of the stuff for Nas based on some of the takes that you were giving, Coop." Then Jansport J let me know in the Twitter Spaces. It's like, yeah, no, we got y'all up in the screen when we're in the studio working. You want to know why? Because in the process of working, inspiration comes from a lot of places, and it could come from a comment that a critic or a media pundit, whatever you would like to call me at this point, is making. Part of the reason why I was up in the studio during their run wasn't just because I was quote unquote like on their side or campaigning for what they're doing. I was campaigning for what they're doing because A, it was brilliant,
Yeah, it was
B, it
very.
was beautiful, C, it wasn't getting covered properly. But
Hmm.
the inspiration side of it, Andrew, because when you're at work, and you know this as a writer, oh no, I wrote a hook to a song that never got released, and it was literally based on a conversation that
Yep.
I was having with a friend of mine while a beautiful girl was walking by. And my comment and the whole hook to the song was based on the comment that he made about the girl. It totally came from a conversation. But I was in artist mode. I was in writing mode. I was working, Andrew. And what you'll find, like you said, when you're actually, working on your craft, you'll find yourself easily inspired.
Yeah.
It's actually not that hard to be inspired when you actually do
Notice
work.
ordinarily.
Yeah. And so when he's talking about he's not feeling inspired, it's like, oh, you haven't done the work is what you really need to be saying. That's what I mean is it's like that's that's the part of it that's like what I call bullshit. Like you can kick that to people who have never grabbed the microphone or grabbed the guitar like you and I have.
Right.
That's a wholesale lie. And that's the biggest lie that he's actually running around telling. Oh, I don't feel inspired. It's because you don't do the work, fam. I took like Nas is on this run because every day he went into the studio with Hit Boy
Exactly
and
the point I was
to
making. Right.
fire. Yes. And so when people are like, oh, why are you talking about this so much? It's like, oh no, I understand as an artist, when you have emptied the tank as much as he has, how hard it is at his age to still come in and feel inspired and make viably great material for mass consumption.
Hmm.
It is literally one of the greatest feats. And that's why I highlight it so much. And this is the antithesis to that.
Mm.
It just is. And I hate it on a personal level because like I'm sure you've been hearing me on the other pods. It's like, well, Illmatic made me want to rap.
Right.
Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music made me believe that I could rap.
Right.
They were about places and spaces that I knew and understood, specifically him. Um, One of my mom's dear friends at the time went to high school with them when they were freshmen at Tri Cities. Definitely Big Boy.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it was neighborhood stuff, damn near. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So on a personal level, it does hurt. You know what I mean? And I think people
Right.
like hear hurt and they're like, "Oh, Coop's bothered by it." I am bothered by it.
You're allowed
It's
to.
like,
This is one of your
it,
people, like somebody that like made you who you are in a celebrity kind of
yes,
sense. Like,
yes. Like I literally believed I could rap after listening to Southern playlists of Cadillac music. It's like I can do it. I can do it. These guys are doing it. They're from around the same parts that I'm from. They're more Southwest Atlanta, the Swats, and I was raised more on the East Side. But even like on the Welcome to Atlanta interlude, like I just moved to Charlotte when Southern Playalistica came out. It's like I used to just play the Welcome to Atlanta interlude. You know what I mean? Because they were talking about parts of the city I know. And there's East Point, College Park, Decatur. It's
yep,
like, yeah.
yep.
It's like, yeah, it's like we're on the map. And so for him to
If
like forget,
places that's literally on the map, right?
yes, they were literally pointing out places that were on the map. And so for him to just kind of like brush all that to the side, like there aren't thousands upon thousands, Andrew, of men like me
Hmm.
down here that he did that to. Because every time I say it, Mike D looks right back at me and says, "Me too, Coop." It's like, yeah, I know, fam. All of us.
Yeah.
Like, there are Beatles, Andrew, down here. There are Wu Tang Clan. There are Nas. And so, and the thing that hurts me the most is that I watch Big Boy rep for this city like nobody's business
Right.
without him. Their catalog is suffering from it. Like
Mm.
that goes back to when we were doing the John Lennon Paul McCartney thing, and you just
Yeah.
pointed out to me, it's like, well, John's not here to perform his songs.
Yep.
You know, it's like, well, that's part of why Paul's does sound greater is because Paul's been performing these songs for so long. Part of why groups like Mobb Deep and Tribe and Wu Tang are starting to sound greater than Outkast in the long run is because their stuff is still playing. I mean, Havoc hasn't had Prodigy in years, and he has found a way to keep the name alive through doing other projects. And so many people have sampled Mobb Deep stuff because Prodigy has kept. I mean, because Havoc has kept Prodigy alive even in his demise.
Hmm.
And stuff like Fife is gone, and Tribe stuff is still living. But that's because when everybody was still living, they were still getting it in. Andrew,
Yep. Yep.
yeah. Like Wu Tang Clan has been on tour with Nas for the better part of the last 2 years.
Right.
They're looking and sounding like the greatest hip hop group of all time. Well, part of what helps it is the fact that people are listening to it. And here's where the inspiration comes
Ah,
from.
yep.
Lil Wayne and 2 Chainz had the album "Welcome to College Park." I mean, "Welcome to Holly Park" or something.
Yeah.
Collie Grove. Welcome to College. Wayne's from Holly Grove in the NO, and Chainz the South Side, College Park, Riverdale. Here in Atlanta, for
Right.
those who don't know. Well, I'm sure everybody knows
I,
about
I,
College Park.
I know, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a song on their album called "Shame," where they are literally taking the hook from Enter the Wu Tang song, the Old Dirty Bastard Manifesto, "Shame on a Nigga," and they made it into a whole song. And it's actually arguably the best song on the album.
Hmm.
And they're literally talking about Chains and Wayne. We like Chef and Ghost. Don't tell me that that wasn't inspired by watching that song. Doesn't come from the inspiration of watching Wu Tang on tour.
Yeah.
Old Dirty Son has been performing his stuff. Shame on a Nigga is one of Old Dirty Bastards. That's Old Dirty Bastards coming out party actually. Like
Okay.
that's his scene stealing moment on Enter the Wu Tang, along with the mystery of chess boxing.
Yeah.
His son is walking around and performing this stuff, and at a high level comparable to the way his father did,
Oh wow.
because his father and Method Man are the scene stealers in this crew, and he's very much taking his father's place in a positive way.
Hmm.
That's how the inspiration works when you're working. Don't tell me that the Chains and Wayne didn't see Wu Tang on tour or didn't play. Like, and this is what I mean about the inspiration. Into the Wu Tang just celebrated its 30th anniversary too.
They're all about 30, you know. Like the
Yeah, but don't tell me that that didn't cross over Chains and Wayne's desk when they were in the studio. That's how that song probably came to be if I had to prognosticate. It wasn't just them being like, let's take this Wu Tang shit.
you know,
No,
shoot, somebody was listening to it, right?
Wu Tang is still in your face. They just celebrated the 30th anniversary. They was probably in the studio and like, yo, put that old Wu Tang on. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh no, we should do a riff on that. You know what I'm saying? That's the
Yeah, and I mean all of these albums too, like the Southern Playlistics of the world and the Equipment. I mean, all of those things are about to be 30 now too. Like, I mean, they're not quite, but they're in that range, right? And so with
Illmatic,
all of those anniversaries
Ill,
coming up, and
yeah. No, Illmatic and Southern Playalistic are about to be 30 years old the last 2 weeks of April.
yeah,
They came out a week apart. Yeah. So it's
that's
like, no, it's
taught
like,
me like like I know that now. So
what? Say what?
that's something that you've taught me actually, that
Yeah.
about the context. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
So, and so, so it's like, he puts me in a tough place as being somebody that was raised in the city, that loves the city, that loves hip hop and wants to like rep it the right way. But
mm,
then I look at him and I'm like, well, he's not repping it the right way. Like, get off my back, get on his.
yeah,
You know, like he could have at least like if he cared about the fans like that, and there's rap material sitting around, release the unreleased stuff and call it unreleased.
yeah,
Nas literally just released the I Am vinyl
yeah,
Black Friday with the unreleased tracks.
yep,
Like, he's not doing that for money. He's doing that for the
yeah,
fan base. People like me that watch the album get bootleg that preferred the original to what came out
yeah.
because he understands what his fan base looks like, and so does his team, so does his company, so does Sony and Columbia. So it's like, oh no, I know that this has been him, almost like stiff arming this whole situation.
Okay.
So go ahead. What are some of your thoughts? I know I've been talking.
No, it's good, man. Like we're riffing, right? So one of the things that rubbed me the wrong way about it, like my personal opinion about the album is that it's fine, right? It's not going to be canonical. Like it's not. That's not going to be in like the first paragraph of his obituary in 50 years or whatever. It's not going. It's going to be Outcast, right? I mean, that's that probably anyway. Unless he does 17 more flute albums in the next 50 years or whatever. But the Outcast is why everybody knows who he is, right? So this is not going to be. It's fine. It's not insulting. I'm not bothered by it, but I don't have the same history with him music that you do. I like it, but not like I fully express that it is not the same for me. But it's fine. It's not like bad. It's just not what here. The thing that gripe my ass the most about it is the not necessarily me reaction. Like I've seen how this has played in forgive me the white world, like this album, and like so much of what I've seen, like people saying you should go listen to this, that kind of thing. Both with among people that I went to school with and that I've known through years, is that it doesn't feel. It feels like here is black thing. I'm using my quote finger, black thing, and it's this is look at me, I'm cool and hip, right? Like because I'm talking about like it's so I've been around you and like I've been around you enough now, and we've had this conversation in enough different directions for me to recognize it more when it happens, right? Um, and so it just rubs me really the wrong way when I see that this is like people are using this to in the sense of like I like black things. I'm using my quote fingers here, but like it just makes me cringe a little.
So I think possibly a better way of explaining this, Andrew, is that what he just did opens up the door for more cultural appropriation.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like to me,
That's
and it hurts me to say that because
definitely.
like he's done music for a long time and he can make whatever the fuck album he wants to make. Like I don't care. Like he does have the right and the money and the whatever cultural cachet to make whatever album he wants to. But like being presented is just icky. Yeah.
gave it the highest hip hop ranking this
Not
year.
not a hip hop album. It's not.
Like
It's
no
not. I
album
don't
has
even
even
think
gotten
Andre
close.
would say it's a hip hop album.
Right. But see, here's what I'm saying, where he's missing the whole boat and opening up for the cultural appropriation. What did you think they were going to call it, fam? What do you think people
Yeah.
really know you for? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you really think? Like, Mike D and I were having this conversation. It's like, if you really want to call a spade, Prince and Michael Jackson were never R&B artists, especially Prince. Like, part of the reason why people like songs from Prince, like "Adore" and "Diamonds and Pearls," those are his R&B records, and he rarely does those type of records. Actually, Prince was a rock
Yeah, he
star,
was, with the guitar and everything. Like, he just,
guitar and everything. Like think about what he played at the Super Bowl. "Let's Go Crazy"
yeah.
and "Purple Rain."
And he played
Those are not
Fighters
songs.
song. That's a Super Bowl.
Yeah, like those aren't R&B songs. "Let's Go Crazy" is not an R&B song. That's rock and roll done by a black man. It's
Yeah,
just done so extremely well.
it is very, very good. Yeah,
And then it goes back to the fact that, not to be funny, I mean, black people kind of invented rock and roll anyway. So
there's
it's not like Prince was ever appropriating the culture of white people by doing rock and roll.
right.
He was actually trying to remind black people, hey, kind of invented this. And then
Yeah,
Elvis happened, then the Beatles happened.
right.
Not to
Exactly.
take away from their genius, but we have to call spades a spade. It's like,
Yeah, I'm answering a chat. Hold on just a second. Chuck Berry was before Elvis. Yes. Yep. Yep. Little Richard was. Chuck Berry was. Um, Bo Diddley was. There's a bunch of guys that were. Yeah, Chuck Berry is one of the icons, and Little Richard. Those are the two guys. Chuck Berry,
just
because of course he is the guitar player, right?
right. So, so yeah, I feel like, and here's the thing: he's such a lightning rod in so many ways. Part of me is like, hey, dude,
Yeah,
like, could you be a lightning rod in another way, please? Like, can you be a lightning rod for Atlanta hip hop culture? Can you be a lightning rod for Outkast? Can you be a lightning rod for the South? Like, he's had like, I mean, Southern Playlistic is almost 30 years old. They haven't made an album together since Stank On You. He's literally had almost 2 decades to just like plant the flag one good
yeah.
time and call it a day. And so, yeah, and it's like, even during this NPR and GQ interviews, you hear Outkast talked about, Andrew?
I didn't hear it once.
Not once.
I would imagine that if that wasn't brought up at all, then somebody in his team or he said, "You're not to ask me about this in this interview," right? I mean, there's no way anybody interviews him that doesn't bring up Outcast once. That's just not realistic.
Correct. It's not realistic, and it's just not right. Like, it really is. It's like, how are you gonna have an interview with Andre 3000 from Outkast, because that's essentially who he is, and not talk about Big Boy, not talk about Outkast, not talk about Atlanta? There's
Yeah.
something very disingenuous about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it that feels disingenuous and very problematic.
It is. It is. Um, So, how would you feel if his new pursuit was like not musical? Like if he said he was, forget being a musician for a second. Forget if he decided like I don't want to do music anymore and I'm going to be a painter or a sculptor or whatever. Would that rub you the same kind of wrong way?
No, it wouldn't. I would be totally okay with that, because you would actually be showing that, like, your heart's just not in the music anymore and that your growth belongs somewhere else. It's like, no, I can respect that. Like, I admire that. Like, I admire people that are willing to say, it's like, I had this career in this and I want to take a chance and start another career, because I think, as somebody who knows me, oh, I've done
Yep.
that.
So have I. Yep.
Like, I've done that multiple
Yep.
times. It's like, my trade is the hospitality business, Andrew. I've done mortgage loans. I've been a life insurance agent for the past 2 years until literally about 30 days ago. Um, so I don't have any problem with somebody, expressing their talents and their gifts, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And the way that he's doing it, it comes off like hip hop is beneath him.
Yeah. Okay. I'm saying yeah, like I'm hearing you, not like not I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't have enough context to give you that. I remember you said I think it was in our in our Hey Jude episode, the one most recent one we did. You said some version of I'm tired of black men getting money and disowning hip hop. Or I'm paraphrasing there, but you said
Yes,
something close to that, right?
yes, it's literally what they do. That's why I hold people like a big boy so high, because it's like, oh no, he's just as rich as Andre, just as wealthy,
Hmm.
still making rap albums. He's gonna be at this Atlanta Falcons Hip Hop 50 event. Like he hasn't forgotten what butters his bread.
Yep. And that's the thing. Like respectfully, um, nobody would have listened to this Andre 3000 album without his previous history. Like, and that's not to say that his music is bad, but I'm saying like this. Like when I opened up YouTube Music on my phone and Apple Music, that's one of the first suggested new releases on there. Like, and again, I'm not trying to dismiss the music, but also no, I don't want to say nobody would care. That hurts me to say, but like it would not be a suggested album if it was just a guy making flute. Like that's just not a thing um that would be. It just wouldn't. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Good Samaritan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I, yep, yeah, yeah. You're freezing a little bit. I mean, I can hear what you're saying, but the people in the chat are saying you're frozen. So there you go. I have you on the recording here, and then the actual episode on like as streamed on YouTube is maybe 2 or 3 seconds behind. So there are a couple moments where you froze out, but we can still hear most, or I can still hear most of what you're saying. Anyway.
Okay. Sorry about that. That's the airport. I'm pulling into the
Yeah,
airport. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. The
well,
city driving around Atlanta is not great. Like
yeah, the bandits around
we
here.
podcast episodes. One of our very first ones actually was with a couple of them were with you driving around, and definitely you cut in and out on that too. So, uh, but we got all moves to make, so you know we got to get in when we can get in, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, this is going to be our normal showtime. Just more due to circumstance, I had to like, you know, I didn't know that I was going to need to be at the airport till like two
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning today, so I wasn't
Yeah.
able to like. Yeah, that's life too.
Yeah. So other question, one of the other questions I have for you, and I think you sort of answered it too, is do this is a whole like several thoughts. I want to see if I can flesh it out with. Um, we talk in my class because we in my well, I'm a high school English teacher for those of you who don't know, and we talk a lot because I teach seniors, so I want them to think about what it means to be a good person, right? Like what that means to them. It's not for me to tell them how to be a good person. It's for us to like consider what the philosophers have said and what like the great writers have said. Like what I want people to come up with their own ideas of what it means to be a good person. And one of those ideas that we look at and we study is like the idea of like what we owe to each other, like what are our responsibilities to each other and to our community. Um, and and do we have a higher responsibility to ourselves, or do we have a higher responsibility to our community, to our family, to the people around us? And I think this debate. I mean, you and I are not having a debate, but like the debate that goes on is going on around this album kind of touches on that, right? Because it seems like he is arguing he doesn't owe y'all. By y'all, I mean the wider community. Um, doesn't owe us anything. That he's already given what he wanted to give, and he doesn't owe us anything else. Um, and like I do understand that argument. Um, and it seems like a lot of the other people commenting on it, you included, seem to be saying you do owe us, not owe us. You know what I mean? Like you don't. You have the responsibility. You have a responsibility to your community. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, so it's the first part is that he seems to be arguing. Can you hear me now? Yeah, that's
Just
fine.
give me one
It's good.
second, brother.
Can y'all in the chat hear me at least? Is that audio coming through? He's picking up somebody at the airport now, so I want to make sure that at least my audio is coming through. So if you could jump in the chat and say, "Hey, yeah, I can hear you," that would be cool. While we're waiting, can you still hear me? Yeah. All right, man. Okay, cool. He's going to jump out and jump back in. I'm going to. Do you guys in the chat at least understand what I'm saying? Not literally like hear my words, but like he. It seems like Andre is playing with the idea of like he doesn't feel like he owes the community anything, and I mean, I guess in some ways he's right about that. Um, I mean, he's got enough money and enough, and he can remove himself enough from the community that he um, doesn't have to do that. But also, there you are. Hi.
There we go. Phone. I had my Bluetooth connected to my
Yeah.
iPad, but the bandwidth down in the airport is
I mean,
terrible.
we're doing well. I mean, this is pretty amazing shit that we can like do this podcast together from however far Atlanta is away from Charlotte, and like live and stream it live into the world while you're driving around. I mean, that's fucking nuts, right? Like it's amazing that that's even possible. Can you hear me still? I can hear. I heard that part anyway, and it looks from your seems like 2 or 3 second delay too. That you're of you me saying something. For those of you who can't tell, he's picking up somebody at the now. So um, very important for that. But anyway, it just seems to me like I'm gonna try to say again what I was saying, and I hope you can hear me. That like it seems like he is saying that he doesn't owe us anything, and it seems like a lot of the conversation around this album that I've heard from according to hip hop and from other podcasts and stuff like that seems to indicate that I want to say this carefully, but that he does owe not them, but I mean them as like the community, the hip hop community, something. And I'm just curious where you land on all that. If you heard me enough to answer. Yeah. All right. Sorry, guys. We are. I mean, our most on where we mute him. So door being open. Um,
Hold on 1 second.
we good, man. We good.
I'm almost at the airport.
People are being very patient with us too. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for hanging out with us, and thank you for um, sending for just being willing to hang out that morning. I know it's um, a lot of stuff going on. We're make it do. Um, make it so we appreciate it, real for hanging and being our technical. Yes,
I'm almost out the fuckery
it's
that is
starting
the
to clear up
airport,
some.
Andrew. Hold on 1 second. You should be able to hear me clearly in like
Okay, I
2
can hear
minutes.
you pretty well now. Can y'all in the chat hear too?
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yep,
All right,
I'm
there.
back up. Cool.
All right, perfect.
I can hear you now.
Okay, so
So let's go back to what you were saying about like him not owing people anything, because that's where you started to break out on me. Just so I can
you want
kind
me
of
to say it
circle
again?
back
Is that where
around.
we are?
Yeah, that's where I was when
Okay.
going into the
So
airport.
what
So
I
it's like
was saying
impossible to get
is
signal down
that
here.
it seems one of the things we talk about in class a lot is what we owe to each other, like what our responsibilities are to ourselves as compared to what our responsibilities are to like each other. Like to our by each other, I mean our families, our partners, our community, right? And so it seems that a lot of the debate around this album kind of centers on those things, right? It seems just from my outsider perspective that he is saying that he doesn't owe the community anything, doesn't owe us anything, doesn't it has given what he can slash wants to give, and he's not interested in doing that anymore. And the general argument that seems to be coming through is that he has more of a responsibility for himself and his own well-being than he does for his
First
and
of
the
all,
other part
go ahead.
is and much of the conversation I hear around um the album, like from y'all, from according to hip hop, from the people commenting on it, the people who aren't like pitchfork deliriously excited about it, are it seems to be he owes us more than he's giving, and he has more to give. So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yes. So okay. So I'm going to tell you how it is as a black man in America. every day that you wake up, you have a different responsibility. Okay.
Okay.
Like the accountability and the responsibility is different for a black man. Listen to what I'm saying.
I
When
am.
you become famous and you take the money, Andrew, that's why I'm bringing up the money. It's like, oh no, when you take the money and people label you an ambassador and people look at you like you're an ambassador, this is what I mean about, we're not about to let him escape that, because every black man that's raised in this nation knows what that responsibility is, and so does he. And so he does have a responsibility. Now, I'm also a big believer that self-care is what should come first, because if you can't care for your damn self, how are you ever supposed to help anybody else?
Right.
Okay? But he has a responsibility, and he has not fulfilled his responsibility as a black man to this community on the musical side. Period and point blank. And we all know it inside of the black community. And so the fact that he thinks that he gets a pass for it, when every day there are those of us that have to walk around this responsibility. And here's what the responsibility is, Andrew. Because we're black, we have to do that. Like, as in, like, whatever you're, like, how about this? And I've said this before. Oh, I'm arrogant in business circles, but my white counterpart is ambitious and a go-getter. I'm a hired gun and a rebel and arrogant. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
And because of the connotations of what we face as black men, that's why the responsibility is different. And he knows that. He's too intelligent and too articulate to not know it. And it's funny how until he became wealthy, he stopped acting like that wasn't a thing. Like, go back and listen to some of the stuff that he's saying on his first 2 albums just about the black condition. They ask me why I need to get out and vote. Why? Ain't nobody black running but crack curbs, so why I got to register? I'm thinking of better shit to do with my time. Like, he knows what the responsibility is. He knows what the connotation is. And so the fact that he keeps on trying to, like literally skip over it, it's like, no, sir. Because no black man in this country gets that type of sentiment, quite frankly. And so he knows exactly what time it is. And he's not even an ambassador, like, in a major way. It's rap music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not like his responsibility is a huge one. It's like the musical community. It's like, literally just have to make a quality product that entertain people, quite frankly, in terms of what we face in the plight of black people in this country. He actually has an easier job compared to other people with a responsibility, you know?
Yeah. And he has to do it once every years, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for self-care, but let's not act like you don't know what your responsibilities are to this community, brother. Like, cut that out. Like, that's what I mean about how black men get money and start acting like they're white oppressors. This is an example of it. Because he wants to go soul searching and doing all that. It's like, oh no, your people still hurting, Sam. There are people who still live and die by you. Like, stop all that. Like, you can stop all that for a moment and touch back down with your community. You can.
Yeah. And the thing that occurs to me as I'm listening to you talk about this is that those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? You don't have to either pick self-care or dealing with your community. Like, you don't have to choose.
Correct.
You can do both. Like, now it seems like he's choosing not to, but like, it is physically possible to do both. Like, it's not a one or the other kind of deal.
People do it all the time. Like, Big Boy did this thing where he literally, like, he hadn't been home in a while, and he literally took people through his house. It's like a 4-minute video of a reel he put up on Instagram. He was kind of showing you some of his self-care. He was showing you the house, the pool, all the cars, got a lot of all the garages, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But he's going to be at this hip-hop event tomorrow to support the community. See how you can do both?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can show off your self-care, and then you can come and rep the community. He literally just did a video showing off, his self-care, because anybody that knows Big Boy knows he's into cars.
Yep.
You know?
Even I know that.
And so, but no, he's going to be at this Hip-Hop 50 Atlanta Falcons event tomorrow. Bet your dollar on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he understands it's like, oh no, I'm going to care for myself, but I'm also going to serve this community. The mayor of Yonkers just gave Jadakiss and Styles a shout out for always coming back to the community and showing love.
Mm-hmm.
They literally run juice bars and wellness facilities. Like, they're actually trying to show the community how to self-care.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, he doesn't get a pass because he can rap his ass off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I got. I mean,
Go ahead.
it's like you're gonna have to cut this show off. So I can talk about this endlessly.
Yeah, the other thing that you said you wanted to talk about when we were discussing about like creating this or doing this on Saturday morning was you wanted to talk about the KRS-One metaphor that you used in the Twitter video, right? About KRS and the bagpipes. Um, I'm not exactly sure how you wanted to pull that out, but like um, you did say you wanted to talk about it. Can you hear what I said? I assume most of you who are watching the stream know this, but um, yeah, I think he can't hear me right now. But like, he made a Twitter video about a week ago where he was talking about perspective, about like how would we feel if KRS-One like disappeared for 20 years and then came back, and he didn't have any solo and pretended he didn't have any solo material, just the BDP stuff, and then he came back after 20 years, and said, "I'm playing bagpipes now." Like that is. You said you want to talk about that. Can you hear me now? The audio.
Vaguely, yeah, you're talking about my KRS-One perspective about the Boogie Down production albums, and if he would have only done the BDP albums and just did a verse here or there, New York would not hold him high. Like the hip hop game would not hold him high. They wouldn't, because he. This is what I mean. KRS-One
Right.
understands his responsibility. He is the teacher in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And he actually assumes that role and responsibility because he understands what the plight of
Yeah.
black men
Is
is
that
like.
because New York
You
City
know,
has a lot more
like
choices
he
for
gets
the
it.
tip top, whatever, or is that because I mean, if we're being real, I mean Atlanta's give MCs, but like not like New York does. Like it's not the same number, right?
Well, I'm just
Right.
using New York in relationship to Atlanta because it's like, no, people down here almost like it's that Southern hospitality thing. It's almost like they're being too nice to him right now. What I'm saying is that New York wouldn't let KRS-One just get away with that scot free the way
Yeah.
Andre's getting away with it in
Yeah.
Atlanta scot free. That was really my point. If KRS-One were to have done what Andre has just done the last 20 years and then come out with this album, they
Yeah.
would be having a
A
fit.
lot of those New York people, according to Hip Hop Chat,
And I
are
just used
having a
it.
fit with this, even with Andre. Like they're the ones. It seems like many of them are the ones doing the not protect your flute, but like I mean you did that, but like generally like a lot of those hashtags are coming from New York. It seems like.
Yes, because it's funny to them how this man is just like literally sidestepping hip hop when they all know that's how his bread has been
Yeah.
buttered and why everybody knows his name. Like they're literally laughing. It's like one of those things when you see a kingdom that's in disarray from afar, and you're like, "Yeah, look at your king,
Yeah.
look at your kingdom." That's what I mean about he has a responsibility to this city to act like he doesn't understand. It's like you're making us the butt of your jokes. We never did anything
Yeah.
to you. Now go out here and represent, or go sit your ass down somewhere.
Yeah.
You feel me? Because that's what hip hop is about. Hip hop is about representing where you're from and where you're at. If this is where you're at, that's fine. But don't bring hip hop into any of
Got
it, like at all. And he uses hip hop as his base. Hip hop is his
it. Right.
base for the promotion that he receives, for the accolades that he receives. It's like, nah, fam, go ahead and renounce hip hop altogether so we can go ahead and cut you out of the conversation. You won't do that because nobody will check for you if you do that. Because you will literally lose the core of your fan base.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
And so
the
it's,
people who
yeah,
are listening to this jazz album or whatever it is, or whatever we're calling it, experimental jazz album, are largely hip hop fans. Like they're there because um,
yeah.
of his previous career. Right? Like that's why people are listening.
And so, you know, kind of to end this, because it's like I do need to
Yeah.
go. It's very money grabbing, you know, for whatever it is. I guess in this is him playing the flute. There is a money grab to this that I need people to understand. Like he doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about hip hop. He doesn't care about Atlanta like that. He cares about Andre, and that's fine if you want to care about Andre. But stop, don't pull up on GQ if it says you just need to do your self care. Don't pull up on NPR. Don't let Pitchfork label this album a hip hop album. Like, he should be saying something to them about it since it's so inauthentic for him to rap at 48. Why isn't he speaking out about it being labeled hip hop? Because he knows the promotion is good. He knows it makes him more money.
People are talking about it, right?
Right. Why are they talking about it? Because it's Andre from Outkast.
Yep.
It's not because he's the most renowned flute player in the world.
Right.
Like, if you want to be renowned for that, go be renowned for that. Go really work on your craft and do that.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I've been driving this whole time. I just don't want it to break up again. So,
yeah, man.
I know that you got stuff you got to take care of.
May you have a peaceful rest of your day, both of you. Take care of yourselves.
Well, I got to go to work, so I'll be back down in Atlanta. So it won't be peaceful because I'll be on Edgewood. But in the back seat of the car are some plates to feed the homeless because we had too much food from Thanksgiving. So
here today.
I'm going to take these plates down to the city. Yeah. So, but this has been a good talk. This is going to be more our normal time. I should be. Part reason why I chose this time because I'm usually sitting in the house this time. So
yeah, but
probably going to be
picking people up at the airport is very important, right? Very important indeed. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
So we'll see y'all next time. Thank you. Thanks for coming to hang out with us. Thanks for us, and thanks for putting up with all of our technical difficulties coming in and out and back and forth. And we appreciate y'all. Thanks.
Yeah,
that's
my fault. Yep, like and
take care,
guys.
Drop us $1 if you want to. See y'all next time. Peace out.